So we have spent the last 7 weeks traveling through Vietnam, starting in the north in Hanoi, up to Sapa, across to Ha Long Bay, across to Ninh Bình, down to Dong Hoi, to Hue, to Da Nang, Hoi An, and finishing in Ho Chi Minh City. It's been an eventful 7 weeks, really enjoyable as well. Some highs, some lows. But I thought I'd do a quick video for any of you who are planning to or thinking of planning to travel to Vietnam over the coming 12 months or so, just with some tips around what you should maybe think about before you leave, consider when you get here. This is not about where to go, what to do. This is about just some stuff around money, around healthcare, around just preparation for when you get over here. So hopefully it's useful. If it is useful, please leave a like or subscribe, and I'll do some more of these. So tip number one is around money. We bought with us around about £500 in sterling and a Revolut card. Revolut, Starling, Monzo, there's a number of those virtual cards you can now get, which enable you to set up convert a cash pot based in sterling into a local currency. So we set up a cash pot of Vietnamese dong on the card and moved the money across as and when we needed it. It's fair to say in Vietnam that cash is king. If you try and use a credit card in shops and restaurants, or any card using cash in shops and restaurants, they will charge you 3% at least on top on the front end. So you want to try, if you can, to use cash whenever. And we bought local currency, our local currency, which is sterling. But if you're based in the US, you bring US dollars, etc. But don't bother taking US dollars or convert to US dollars if you're based in the UK, because you're going to pay 2 conversion fees. So we took sterling and a Revolut card and another card to back that up. So tip two is around ATMs and taking cash out of ATM machines. So you need to be aware there's lots of banks in Vietnam, and almost every single bank will charge you a fee to take money out of an ATM. Many of the banks have very low withdrawal limits. A number of banks we tried will only allow you to take 2 million, maybe 3 million dong as a limit. So 2 million dong equates to about £60. Each time you make a withdrawal, you'll be charged. So if you're making multiple withdrawals, want to draw out £200 or £300 worth of dong, which you will need, it's going to be very, very expensive. So a couple of tips for you. We used quite a lot VP and TP Bank. They have very high withdrawal limits. They've got 5 million, and actually some of them had 6 or 8 million. We also used HSBC when you can find them. There's one in Hanoi, there's one in Da Nang, and there's one in Ho Chi Minh Bank. The good thing is if you take one withdrawal, you've got a reasonably low fee and you're only paying it once. But it's important that if you do that, you get one of those currency cards I mentioned in tip one, like a currency card or a Revolut or Starling, etc. Because otherwise you're going to get charged at the front end when you take the money out, and at the back end when your own bank converts the money. So definitely find a good card you can take with you that lets you take money out in local currency. Tip three is around something I suggest everybody who comes to Vietnam brings with them, and that is the best quality pair of earplugs you can buy. Noise in Vietnam is everywhere, be that construction noise, traffic noise. It is absolutely overwhelming. Almost everywhere we stayed, there was loud noise during the day, often from construction. If you have a hotel on the street, there will be street noise almost certainly. And if you are a light sleeper, it's likely to be a major issue for you. So I would definitely invest in a pair of earplugs. I did. They weren't always effective, but they did help. And spending a bit more on those, not just a series of simple kind of, phone plugs, but, spending 20 or £30 on a pair of ear blockers would make a lot of sense for anybody who has struggles to sleep. Because as I say, construction, traffic, it is everywhere. Every single hotel we stayed in, there was construction noise during the day. 2 hotels, you couldn't even sit on the balcony, it was so loud. Tip 4, pack light. I went completely over the top. I packed 2, maybe 3 pairs of shoes, 2 pairs of trousers, too many pairs of shorts, far too much underwear, and that was a mistake. I've been lugging it around the country with me. So what I would say is clothes, t-shirts, shorts, and shoes, etc., are very, very reasonable in street markets, etc. Now the problem I had was we went from north to south, right, and the temperature in the north could be as low as 4 or 5 degrees, and the temperature in the south was 30 degrees. So I was trying to pack for every eventuality. The reality is, in the north, we bought a pair of tracking shoes and some tracking trousers for next to nothing in Sapa, and we've carried them down and we'll just get rid of them as and when we needed to. So what I would say is, don't overpack. Pack as best you can. Obviously, the essentials, good pair of trainers, some shorts, some t-shirts, maybe one pair of trousers, but just pack light, because if you try and pack for every type of weather, you're just going to have a nightmare. Tip 5 is around online reviews. When you're looking at hotels and researching hotels, etc., where you're going to stay, and also when you're over here looking at restaurants, you need to be very, very careful of online reviews. There is a culture here of, I've never seen it anywhere else really, wherever you go, be it a restaurant, a hotel, a bar, the minute you're leaving, even when you're arriving, they're asking for you to do a Google review, a TripAdvisor review, scan your code. They want you to do it on the spot. And the culture, certainly in the UK, but also I know across a lot of the world, right, is you don't want to leave a bad review. You kind of, especially, you don't want to be nasty to an establishment. And I think a lot of reviews you see are not entirely accurate. You can Google restaurants down a main street in Hanoi, and every single restaurant down that street, there's 50 restaurants, every one on TripAdvisor or Google is between 4.8 and 5. Same on hotels. There's lots and lots of hotels with really, really high reviews. So be wary, do your research, really look into it, because the reviews you're getting, especially if there's very couple of lines, aren't always accurate. There's some great hotels here, there's some great restaurants here, there's some great bars here, but my advice would be just be careful and do your research, because not every review, not every 5-star place is truly a 5-star, and we found that out ourselves. Point 6 is around healthcare. When you're over here, I'd be very, very surprised if you don't get the shits at least once. It's just really, really common. I've had it, my wife's had it. You can eat as carefully as you possibly want. It doesn't matter. You will get it. I don't know if it's brushed your teeth for the wrong thing, or I don't know, but the ice, God knows. But as carefully as you'll be, you will end up with them. So my advice to you is pack accordingly. Pack Imodium, electrolytes, whatever you need to get over a dose of the backdoor trots as quickly as you possibly can, because it can take a few days off your holiday or your trip. So it's just best to be prepared. But if you do get a bit more seriously ill, there are some chemists here, and I'll come on to that in point 7. Tip 7 is around pharmacies here. Just be really, really careful. So there is a huge disparity in the quality of the pharmacies you go into, and the cost. We went into 2 pharmacies in Hanoi for a packet of paracetamol. First pharmacy wanted to charge us around £7 for a packet of paracetamol. The second pharmacy was £1. And I don't entirely trust exactly what you're being given as well in some of those pharmacies. That said, my wife did get some food poisoning. We went into a pharmacy in Hanoi, and they were absolutely fantastic. They looked after us, gave us some drugs, and they spoke very, very good English, and they were fantastic. But on that, we did actually use reviews and Google reviews, etc., because they weren't. The pharmacists don't tend to ask for feedback. So we did find that if we did a little bit of research, you ended up finding the better pharmacies, and they were really, really helpful. So that's definitely a tip. Tip 8, and the final one on healthcare, is around vaccinations. We had all our vaccinations, and that included rabies. Now, we both felt the rabies jabs, which were expensive, we paid for them privately, both made us quite ill in the first few days we were here. We both had quite bad coughs. I just think it was a side effect of the jabs. I'm not saying don't have rabies jabs, that's your decision. And I think if you are there's lots of stray cats and dogs around here, and cats and dogs around people's bars and stuff like that. If you're the sort that wants to pet cats and dogs, have the jabs, don't even hesitate. But if you're careful here, I would suggest that I regret having the jabs, as does my wife. So just think about those. As I say, there are lots of pet cats and dogs. If you're the sort that's going to wander up to those animals and you want to get them sitting on you and etc., then I would have the jabs. We've been to some fairly remote places. As long as you're careful, you're at a reasonable risk, I would suggest. But it's your decision. Don't follow my advice. But just that's my view on it. So tip 9, I'm going to use the word scams, but some of it is just more around taking your money off you. So first thing to say is the Vietnamese people are great. They're really friendly, funny, inquisitive. We both really like them, and it was a pleasure being in Vietnam. but you did get in situations on a number of occasions where we could have lost some cash, and on one occasion we did, but only a few dollars. So what I would suggest you do is, before you come here, do a little bit of research on YouTube around scams around the country, around what to look out for, because there is a bit of it, and you could very easily, especially if you're tired and been traveling, very easily walk into it. I'll tell you what happened to us very briefly. We went to Hanoi Station. We was getting a train with Chapel Express. They had a VIP lounge. We got into the station, were immediately met as we got into the station by station employees. We told us the Chapel lounge wasn't open and we could store our bags with them. So we followed them. We gave them both money to look after our bags. They gave us a ticket. All they were doing was literally wheeling the bags into an area and throwing them in there. They weren't storing the bags. There was no bag storage. There was no security. They were just taking money off. There was loads of bags in there. So God knows what they're doing. And we looked online and it was a scam. We realised about 2 minutes after it happened, went back, took our bags out of there, walked around the corner, and lo and behold, the Chapel Lounge was open. So just be aware, do your research. It does happen here. People are on very, very low incomes, and you know, there are people out there that will make money off tourists, particularly gullible ones. So just be aware of it. So tip 10 is the final one, and it is around tours and trips. So depends how you're traveling over here, right? You may have booked a holiday with a tour company and you may have everything laid on. That's fine. You may have booked your flights and hotels and then plan to do it from tours, etc. That's fine. What I suggest you do consider, though, is a lot of places you can stay. You can do a lot of this stuff yourself without having to book and pay for tours to go on tour groups. A lot of places can be reached very cheaply in a grab for a couple of dollars, which you can then go and explore yourself at your own leisure and leave when you want. The tours we've done have been good, but a number of them have been day tours that have really been stretched to make them a day. So definitely consider looking at where you're staying, looking at what you want to see, and considering whether you can look at it yourself. In Sapa, for example, we hired a car, a driver for 5 hours, and saw everything we wanted for about $15. That same tour would have worked out about $100 for both of us. So we did it at our own pace. It was great fun. So just consider that. So before you go ahead and book everything in advance, give it some thought, do some research again, and give that some consideration. So that's it. That's all 10. Hopefully they're useful. If they are useful, please click like, please click subscribe. Feel free to post any comments. If you've got any questions, I'll try and answer them. But that's me. This is useful. Hopefully I'm in Cambodia now. I'll do another one of these. But thanks for watching. Speak to you again soon.